This morning, you probably woke up to an alarm, checked your phone, thought about the work waiting for you, felt a familiar weight in your chest before you even got out of bed. But the real answer to what it means to live a day as a human is far stranger than you think. Because for almost all of human history, people didn't know what an alarm clock was. They didn't know work in the sense you know it. And yet, they survived. Raised children. Laughed. Got bored. Yes, bored. And that might be the most surprising part of this whole story. Your brain is built as if every day should be filled with tasks, lists, the feeling that if you're not producing something useful, you're falling behind. But that brain is the same one people had 300,000 years ago. So what actually changed? And did it really change as much as you think? Start with a number that flips everything you assume about how hard your ancestors' lives were. In the 1960s, anthropologist Richard Lee traveled to the Juhawantsi people in the Kalahari Desert, one of the last communities still living by hunting and gathering the way humans had for tens of thousands of years. He expected to find people worn down by a constant struggle to survive. Instead, he found something that stunned him. Adults spent, on average, between 15 and 20 hours a week securing food. Not a day, a week. The rest of the time went to talking, resting, playing with children, doing what a modern person would call nothing, and then immediately feel guilty for calling it that. Anthropologist Marshall Salins took this data and wrote one of the most cited papers in the history of anthropology. He called hunter-gatherers the original affluent society, not because they had a lot of things, because they wanted little and almost always had enough to satisfy it. Sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? A society with no supermarkets, no refrigerators, no savings, called a society of abundance? But think about what abundance actually means. It isn't the number of things around you, it's the gap between what you want and what you have. The smaller that gap, the richer you feel. Modern life surrounds you with things, yet that gap stays enormous because every day you're shown something you still don't have. A Paleolithic person barely had that gap. He wanted meat, water, company, and usually found all three nearby. So what filled the rest of the day if hunting and gathering took so little time? Morning didn't begin with an alarm. It began with the sun. The body woke on its own because there was no artificial light to fool the internal clock. A sleep study led by psychiatrist Jerome Siegel, working across 3 modern hunter-gatherer communities, the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Tsimane of Bolivia, found something unexpected. These groups slept about the same amount as the average city dweller, sometimes even less. But they woke up rested. Insomnia, the condition that plagues millions of people today, was almost non-existent among them. The difference wasn't how much they slept. It was the rhythm. The body lay down when it got dark and rose when it got light, with no resistance to its own biological clock. After waking, talk. A lot of it. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner, who studied the same Juhawantsi people, noticed something important. About a third of daytime conversation around camp was practical. Who saw food where to go tomorrow? But at night, around the fire, conversation shifted. People told stories, joked, remembered. Nighttime talk almost never touched practical matters. It was about people, relationships, the stories of ancestors. Stop and think about that for a second. An entire system of social life built around storytelling, not around labor, around stories. The day wasn't divided into work time and free time the way yours is. It was divided into necessary and shared. Getting food, necessary. Everything else, shared. For the group, for connection. And here's where it gets genuinely strange. You might assume a life with no clocks, no schedule, no obligations was chaos. In reality, it was structured more tightly than you'd think. Just not by time. By people. No one forced anyone to hunt. But if a hunter didn't share his catch, the group noticed. Memory was long, and the community was small. There was no manager watching you. There was reputation, and it watched you instead. Researchers call this the leveling ethos, a deliberate, almost aggressive insistence on equality within the group. Anthropologist Christopher Boehm, who studied dozens of hunter-gatherer societies, found a consistent pattern. If a hunter started bragging about his catch or acting superior, the group mocked him. To his face, it was called insulting the meat, a ritual designed to humiliate a successful hunter so he'd never start thinking he was fit to lead the rest. Sounds harsh, but it worked. It kept anyone from deciding he was imp